history of artists being displaced and at risk of displacement in Oakland. How would you ensure affordable affordable studios and affordable performance and exhibition spaces for Oakland's artists and cultural workforce?
I think that we're going to need to innovate in the area of these creative workspaces. And I've actually thought about a three-part workspace that I think that we can engage in public-private partnerships to do. One, you can have artists doing their thing. Second, you'd have technology people doing their thing. Third, I think we could have the trades. All of this could exist, and there's a model in Chicago for this that exists already. I've already started talking with foundations in Silicon Valley about doing just that. Affordable housing as separate and distinct, but including the artists. As we grow, we're seeing lots of residents, sometimes people that have been here for generations, being pushed out. We've got to make sure that our laws on affordable housing are enforced. And because the time is growing short, I'll skip to, we have to make sure that we have living wage jobs for people, so that as prices are rising, people's incomes can allow them to stay in their housing. And I'd make sure to work on that as we develop our plans.
I'm a planner. Like I said, I've seen the world grow up. One of the things I'd like to see is there's almost 4 million square feet of empty office space downtown Oakland. I would like to have that rezoned and affordable housing in modules created throughout the place. That would bring in about $1.5 to $1.7 billion a year, about $130, $140 million in taxes for the tax coffers. I believe that there are like 400 empty lots throughout Oakland, I was told. I would like to release the requirements on that and bring in engineering housing. And that would put about maybe a couple thousand people in affordable housing.
In 1991, my first summer home from law school, I was an intern for California Lawyers for the Arts in their special art house project, which specifically was designed to address this very problem. Gary Connect was my boss. Oakland has a really great legacy around this. We were the first city to create a building code for work-live space as opposed to live-work space, where you actually had to have a business license as an artist to demonstrate that you actually were working where you lived. And so using zoning tools, zoning overlays, and particularly to protect special spaces like American Steel, hi Karen, like NIMBY, these working spaces where artists are creating amazing things. To protect those by using our zoning laws is a great tool. And then to also use affordable housing. You can use affordable housing dollars to create artist space. The Adeline Lofts by AHA in West Oakland is an example of an affordable, subsidized project with artists in it. Art House in Seattle has done it, Minneapolis has done it, Oakland should do it too.
So we're all familiar with the challenge that artists have. They move into a neighborhood that's not very desirable, they revitalize it, and everyone wants to live there. They, the prices are driven up, and then the artists are pushed out of that neighborhood. So the first thing I would do is first to protect those kinds of neighborhoods, and I would designate them as something like a commercial creativity zone. In the commercial creativity zone, we would have common services that would cater to the artists, whereby they can effectively use common services for administration of their business or finances or for operations, logistics, things that they frankly get bogged down in, and they probably have to spend a lot more money if they have to do it on their own. Whereas if we have those common services provided either by low-cost providers or just shared by the economies of scale, they'd be much better off. And then as far as the housing, I have on my platform published that there would be a chief housing officer on my staff that's funded by a 50% reduction in my salary, so that we can attend to all of our housing needs, because it is a big problem. It is a time-sensitive issue where people who get displaced cannot be undisplaced. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, it's always going to be a problem for artists, because a lot of times they produce things that only they see the value in right away. So it's the purpose of government to go and have the basic needs met for people whose money and the market for their product is going to vary. It's a very simple process for us to help establish collectives that will help you to buy materials that you need at reduced prices, to share those costs among a great number of people, to have different type of housing, including manufactured housing, to go and have people who work here in the city work on their own houses, to build these, there's still a lot of homes in Oakland that have been practically derelict, and we require a lot of work in them. This can be done by people who otherwise are artists and don't have any other jobs to go to. They can work throughout the night. So this is all part of the things that we can do if we really want to have artists staying in Oakland. We can't just leave them to the wolves as have been done in the past. Thanks.
So I'm a numbers lady, and I know that when we talk about the artist community that you're bringing incredible economic opportunity and vitality to Oakland, and that needs to be recognized. That we have Art Murmur and First Fridays, we've got American Steel, we have things that are going on. But we need to recognize that the leadership inside City Hall needs to make sure that we have the best run city government, so that we make the processes easy, so that there is affordable housing, that we're leading community engaged, a community engaged development process, that we're not allowing the artists to be displaced, but that we are really seeing and profiling the value of artists in this community. That artists are the backbone of Oakland. So it is working in conjunction with you to make sure that we are attracting all the projects we can have them be commissioned here, have our artists be profiled, but have City Hall be in alignment with you, making sure that our processes work to support you so that we can build the economic engine together and we all rise up.
My goal overall is to increase the quality of life of everybody that lives in Oakland. My plan is first is prosperity safety, not public safety. It's a word that politicians use to get more money for no reason. Prosperity safety. We need to be prosperous and we need to be safe. And we need full employment. We don't need just the youth to have jobs, but we need their mothers and fathers to have jobs to have an example of what works look like in a home, right? And we need arts and culture. This should be part of our everyday interaction as a government, to understand that arts and culture gives us the bridge between a criminal lifestyle and an artist lifestyle. I'd rather people training to paint something than training to rob someone. And with the artist culture as a prevalent part of my candidacy and my administration, we will have less crime and more artists. And I think that's what we all want. Thank you.
Oakland needs to recognize that we need to start taking care of the citizens that are here already. We have a problem in Oakland. We keep building more and more, and we keep bringing more people in, and yet we have no services for anybody that lives here. When it comes to the artists, I worked with the art ship, if anybody remembers the art ship that we lost, thanks to Oak tonight, and what's happening there. So when the developments come in here, they're developers coming in here to make a quick bit of cash, build poor, low, standard housing, because most of the housing, the 10K that Jerry built, are now falling apart and have sewer problems and a lot of issues. We need to start demanding that if we're going to start building in Oakland, that we start having quality building housing. We don't need the junk that the developers come in here to build, then they leave, they don't help with the infrastructure, and then we have people moving out, not because of crime. A lot of people are leaving because they want a safety. I'm cut off. Thank you.
So growing gentrification in Oakland is not only making it difficult for artists to live and work here, but it's changing the character of our city. The diversity and grittiness that people love Oakland for is being driven out when all the condos coming in and landlord move-outs. I have 3 specific proposals I want to make. Number 1, we need to greatly strengthen the laws to protect tenants. The City Council has passed weak laws. We need stronger laws to make it harder for landlords to evict people. 2, we have to be active statewide to get the legislature to allow us to implement rent control, which they took away in the 1980s. Number 3, through an urban land trust, we can take unused city land and some of the land that big developers want to build on and build affordable units. I would say at least 8,000 within 8 years to sell to people to live in, to work in for between $60,000 and $100,000 per unit. That's all doable. That will benefit not only artists, but other people with moderate income.
So in order to continue to have and grow a thriving arts community in Oakland, our artists need to be able to have both housing that is affordable and production space that is affordable, display space, depending what kind of art you're making, right? You need theater space or gallery space or other opportunities to produce your works. And so I think we need to look at both of these aspects and be aware that there is a history here. 7th Street in West Oakland was one of the hoppingest arts and music scenes west of the Mississippi before it was bulldozed to build other things. And we need to undo that harm and turn this the other way. Oakland used to provide affordable housing for artists at the Malonga Castle Lord Center. What's happening with those rooms now? Why aren't they being made available to artists? In new development projects, we can ask for set-asides, not only for affordable housing, but for studio space and space for people to display or market their arts. And that can be part of what we require. And we should be paying artists to do real work so that the artists are earning the income to help sustain them, like murals that reduce blight and improve community. Thank you.
I've received endorsements by most of the affordable housing leaders in the city because I've been working on affordable housing for a long time. So the solutions for artists are some of the same solutions as for everybody. We've built about 1,700 affordable housing units in the last 3 years. That's a record number. We have 11,000 homes now in the pipeline. My goal is to make 25% of them affordable. About 15% already have funding. We hope to use the Kaplan trade funds for the additional 10%. In addition to that, we have to use, I think, art and art space in a creative way and in a part of development. So we all know that First Friday has helped put Uptown really in the center of the national attention. But now along the whole international corridor, we have an opportunity to develop communities and art spaces. I've been working with the East Side Alliance. They just got a grant, congratulations. And we're looking at building cultural centers all along International Boulevard so that it's part of the economic development and it's part of keeping the city's identity for our many different cultural groups.
You know, I'll start by saying that, and I've said this before, I like Dan's idea about a land trust. I'm concerned about how much the city would have to contribute to that to make it work, and I'm willing to talk to you about that, but I think that's a partial solution. I also believe we need more affordable housing units in Oakland. But this question was not strictly about affordable housing. This was about artists. And so for me, I actually disagree with some of what I've heard tonight, because for me, in my experience, and in my family, we have a lot of artists on the East Coast as well as on the West Coast. There's a difference between production spaces or display spaces and spaces for creation, being creative. And a question that I don't have answered in my own head yet, but I would want to study about Oakland. And there are all sorts of different artists, right? Writers are different from people who create pottery or paint or do sculpture or whatever. You need studio space. Sometimes, in certain types of arts, they like to be in the presence of other people with whom they can collaborate. But lots of people also like to have a place of seclusion where they can be introspective. And so loft space, big housing space, shared living quarters versus independent living quarters matters in this equation. And I don't know the answer to that question yet, and therefore I think it would be wrong to generalize about all artists yet.
Thank you.